Test one. There we go.
Test. Okay.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for bearing with me there. We have a group visiting us all the way from Idaho, so I wanted to make sure we gave them some good, proper time. Good to see you all, and as more folks come in, it'll be nice to have them too. I missed you all last week. I was at my cousin's bat mitzvah in Connecticut, and so it's nice sometimes to be with family and be away. But the great thing about being Jewish here in Utah is that when most of us are transplants, we kind of become each other's family, and so it feels good to be back with my some of the folks from my Utah family. Let's start off by singing How Good It Is to Be Together, page 128, with Hine Matov.
Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum, Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum, Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum, Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Shenetachim, Lam Yachad. Shenetachim, Lam Yachad.
And Shabbat Shalom. I see some of you, we have so many guests this evening, which makes me thrilled. Some of you are looking a little confused. In Hebrew, we read from right to left, so our book starts and goes right to left. And also, though, you'll see in here Hebrew, you'll see transliteration, which is the Hebrew and English letters, if you want to follow along, a translation below, and on the left side, you'll see some different readings and interpretations in case the traditional prayer doesn't move you. We're going to turn to page 142, and there's this Jewish teaching that when we leave the synagogue to go home for our Shabbat dinners, that there are angels that are walking with us, and that we are supposed to let those angels into our home and be like angels ourselves in the way we treat others. We'll sing about that on page 142 with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashavim, Malachei Elyon. Milele, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ba'achem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. תכף לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
One of the things that we learn in our tradition is that every day of the week was paired up with another day. Sunday got paired up with Monday, Tuesday with Wednesday, Thursday with Friday, but Shabbat was all alone. This made Shabbat very sad. Odd number of days, what do you do? And God said, Shabbat, that is because I want to be with you. I want to be joined with you. And so, when we come together on Friday night, it's as though we are guests at a wedding, at a joyful occasion, when we watch God and Shabbat come together. And we read about that and sing about that with Lahadodi on page 138, where we do verses 1, 2, 5, and 7. That's 5 and 9, excuse me.
Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Shamar zachori divorecha ishmianu, Erev Adonai Ushemoecha L'shem Tiferet Tigla. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Likra Shabbat Echud melcha Kivleko Avila Verosh Mikerem Nesucha Sof Maaseh B'machshava Tefila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Idoreli kiva orem, uri shir daberi kevonai alai tigla.
Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. We rise and face the entrance to greet the bride of Sabbath.
עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצלה תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בריחלה Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila. Lahadodi likra kala, bene Shabbat lekavila.
You may be seated. This time we remember that Shabbat is an opportunity for us to bring light into the world, and so we light our Shabbat candles. I always love to find somebody of honor to light our candles. And Brian, would you mind coming up and you, Brian? Brian has been a great friend in that he reaches out to us, says, "I know the world's tough for Jewish folks right now. How can I be there for you guys?" And every year brings a group 3 hours all the way from Idaho to come and learn about who we are, and I appreciate that. We need more of that in our world. So if you would do us the honor of lighting the candles, and then we will join together in the blessing. Thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. Turn to page 144 for the Hatzi Kaddish.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
יעמד יברך ידותיו ימליק מלכותיו בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו
Amen.
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה.
Yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתברך ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה
Brehu.
בריחו לילה במקום ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ביעלמה ויאמרו
Amen. We rise for our call to worship the Baruch Hu on page 146. You may be seated. I'm cognizant that right now it looks like the sun just set, like right at the moment when we were lighting our candles, and it's the past several months. By the time we come together for our Friday night service, it's been dark already. But this Sunday we have daylight savings, and that as we spring ahead, next week we will probably have more light as we go into our Sabbath observance here on Friday nights. And so, if you could read with me on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over?
Baruch atah Adonai Hamalech
We turn to page 150 for a song about how God always loves us. And then we lead from there into the Shema, the central doctrine of our faith that there's one God who reigns forever and ever. And following that, we will move into the Hafta, the words from the Torah that remind us that just as God always loves us, that it's on us to always love God. Page 150.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותם לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה. ויעבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
152.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
154.
ויחדת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשיטתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשבתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
When our people crossed over the Sea of Reeds and left bondage and slavery behind them in Egypt, they sang the Michamocha asking, who is like you, God? And we have since called that the song of our redemption. And indeed, we ask God often, as we sure have since October 7th, to redeem the captive and those who are in bondage. Redeem them. And what that moment, though, where we crossed the sea showed us was that wherever we were yesterday, wherever we were this morning, doesn't have to be who we are tomorrow. And that every person is capable and worthy of redemption. And so with that, perhaps we can think about who we are now, but not just that. Maybe who we were yesterday or a year ago. And more importantly, who we wish to become a year from now or tomorrow. And we can too be redeemed. And so let's sing the song of our redemption, Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la, yai la la la. Mi chamocha ba'iri baroma, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilo osefele, nora tehilo osefele. Ma'echutecha uvanecha, v'ki hayamim v'Moshe Miriam, ze'elianu v'yaveru, ze'elianu v'yaveru, Adonai himelo le'olam ba'ed, Adonai himelo le'olam ba'ed. Yai la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la, yai la 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 la. נאמן כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel.
We turn to page 160 for the Hashkivenu, asking God to watch over all of us, that we may lie down in peace and wake up tomorrow renewed to a world and life of peace as well.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu B'shalom V'hamidei Shomrei L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu B'shalom V'hamidei Shomrei L'chaim. Ushmo Seitenu Kuloenu L'chaim Shalom Me'atam Adolam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidei Shomrei L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom V'hamidei Shomrei L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Haporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu. Haporei סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
You learn that as long as the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, Shabbat likewise has kept us as the Jewish people. We turn to top page 162 for Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם אותי לעולם, לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת
We rise for the Amidah in body or spirit, page 164.
My lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imateinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'il HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה
168.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד דרגה השם מחכה לחיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל
170.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני הקדוש
We continue silently on page 172 through page 180, or you can continue silently on your own with your own personal thoughts and prayers and meditations. And when you're finished, you may be seated.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my dreamer.
This time we think of those in our community and their loved ones who could use a prayer for healing of the mind, body, or spirit, or who are in a period of recovery right now. And are we going to be using this book? Perfect. If you have the Shabbat pamphlet, we will be on page 16 for our prayer for healing.
Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Mishmerach imateinu, Sarah Rivka v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our fathers, may the one who blessed our mothers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer. Hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
This week we think of these members of our community and their loved ones. Kitolea bat Mashachana Harav Yehuda Le ben Dina, Myron Yisrael ben Rachel, Daniel Mayer ben Chaya Etia, Baruch ben Sarah, Itkafega bat Gittel, Gila Chaya bat Mordechai Leib v'Gila Leah, Yehuda ben Chana, Tova Chava bat Chaya Rochel, Chaim Yosef ben Shena Leah, Shmuel ben Aryeh Lev, Sarah Bell, David Dowsett, Angela Eno, good to see you here, Jeannie Lee Goldstein, Marvin Goldstein, Rona Kipper, Fran Lappin, Tanner Light, Megan Magleby, Penny Spector, Adina Stern, and Judy Wolf. If you have a name to share, I'll invite you to do so when I look in your direction. And if you are watching on our live stream, I'll invite you to share a name as well.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Vishaverach imotein, Sarah rivka le'Rachel. May the one who blessed our fathers, may the one who blessed our mothers, hear our prayer,
Hear our prayer,
hear our prayer,
hear our prayer.
hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
And as we have been since October 7th, we'll offer a prayer for the state of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel, and strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say, Amen. And as we also have since October 7th, our prayer is that the final outcome of this horrible war will be a greater peace in our world, peace for those in Israel, a peace for those in Gaza and the Palestinians, and a peace for all those in the region. If you'll join us, please, for a prayer for peace, so say shalom.
Oh, say shalom b'mrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu. Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, oftentimes, in case you're wondering why, I saw the other day on Facebook an anti-Semitic thing, which is not uncommon to see on Facebook, but this was saying, these Jews think they're better than everyone else. They think that they're God's chosen people. They say that all the time. Well, what this person doesn't realize is that as Jews, our religion does not teach that we're better than anyone else, but rather what chosenness means is that God chose to give us the Torah. In fact, a 17th century Jewish philosopher, Baruch Spinoza, he radically thought that we were the chosen people, and then it was the Christians, and then it was the Muslims. Now, he died before Joseph Smith was around, but today I think he'd say Latter-day Saints would be God's newest chosen people. But what we read in the Torah last week was about this whole golden calf incident, and God perhaps realizing, as this was right when God gave us the Torah, that God chose a very flawed people. And we are indeed very flawed people. I'm an extremely flawed person. And as a rabbi who spends his whole life interacting with Jewish people, I have learned that yes, all of God's chosen people are indeed very flawed people. Now, I was talking to this wonderful group of Latter-day Saints before and kind of comparing our religion. As a rabbi, I will tell you where I have a bit of, to borrow a term that I hear my Latter-day Saint friends use frequently, have of you all is some holy envy. And what is that holy envy? Your religious leaders have the power and ability to excommunicate you if you don't behave yourselves. We do not have anything like that in Judaism. And Dove likes that, you all like that. As a rabbi, that can be, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish there were one or two, maybe. And that also, being excommunicated, we were talking before about the celestial kingdom in Mormonism that would prevent you from getting there. There's some big ramifications, correct, for that. I don't have that type of recourse, I guess, that I can dole out in Judaism. And so when I talk to a person in our community about how they behaved poorly, it does not always carry a whole lot of weight. And because there's not really that much consequences that can go with it. And on Yom Kippur, our Day of Atonement, something I often talk with little kids about, sometimes I read them a book called The 2 Hardest Words to Say. And those words being, I'm sorry. And another activity I've done with kids on Yom Kippur is I get them to take a toothpaste. I give them all a tube of toothpaste, and they squeeze out the toothpaste. And they have so much fun. I say, now put the toothpaste back in the tube. And they make a giant mess and say, I can't. And we talk about how then in Hebrew, there's so many words for things, but there's no word for undo. Because the people who speak Hebrew understand you can't really undo something. You can try to grow from it, you can try to make it right, but you can't go back in time and undo what you did. Well, back speaking of Yom Kippur, what I talked about this past year, the high holidays, was my favorite Jewish prayer, the Unatana Tokef. And it's that prayer that we read at the high holidays, that on Rosh Hashanah, God decides who will have a good year, who will be given life, and who will die. And God, though, gives us the opportunity to redeem ourselves and to change that decree by Yom Kippur. And on Yom Kippur, it's sealed. And what I talked about, though, was how when I have the sad privilege of burying a 96-year-old, I don't go, gosh, what did that guy do to tick God off this year? Or when I have the incredibly sad privilege of laying to rest a child, I don't think this kid must have done something wrong. But rather, the way that I read the Unatana Tokef is that if my life were to end tomorrow, Would I be remembered for a blessing? Would I be remembered as having a good life or not a good life? And I have between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to maybe make things right and change the way that folks think about me. And I was discussing this week with a mentor. And this mentor was asking me if I've seen examples of that within my work as a rabbi. And I talked about 2 incidences I've had where some of people were not acting in a way that I feel is consistent with Jewish values, and where I called them on it and said, you're not being consistent with the values we teach here. And one of those people's response was to say, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean to be disrespectful. I see how I was now, and I'm going to work to make this better. And if you see me acting like that again, let me know, because I don't want to be that person. And the other person I thought of when I said you're not behaving in line with Jewish values doubled down on their behavior, got angrier and angrier, and then ruder and ruder. And created more and more trouble. And I thought about these folks if I were never to see them again. How would I feel? And that's what my mentor asked me. How would you feel in that circumstance? What would you think of them? And I said, if I weren't to see those folks again, let's say I moved on to another congregation or something, and I didn't see them again. The first person I mentioned, I would remember that individual as a flawed individual who was working to improve themselves. And through that interaction, that person actually gained esteem in my eyes. I saw them through in a better lens. And with the second person, I wouldn't remember them very fondly. Both of them behaved poorly, but one took ownership and looked to make redemption, while the other dug their heels in and didn't have that humility. I don't think I'd remember that person fondly. Well, turns out that there's much of that also that we see from the Torah. Because, as I mentioned last week, we read about this golden calf incident. And God is pretty upset, to say the least. And God is even saying, I think I might wipe these Israelites out. They're so ungrateful. Look at everything I've done for them. And then they go and do this? I should just wipe them out. And Moses says, God, please, 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 please. Moses argues with God, says, please give them another chance. And that brings us to this week's Torah portion. And what do we see? Those folks who had come from Egypt with practically nothing, yet somehow managed to bring gold with them, and who had used that gold to create a golden calf and essentially commit adultery against God, saying, let's forget about all the great things you did for me, and let me focus on this nice shiny object over here. Those same individuals in this week's Torah portion take the little that they own and say, we are going to create a tabernacle. We are going to create something for God. We are going to create something where we can gather, where we can meet, where we can interact with God and always remember that God is there for us and that God is present. What we see in this week's Torah portion, Vayachel, is the people of Israel making teshuvah, redemption, saying, "Oh, give me the chance to do better, to take the same things I took last week and to do better." Now, when we read the Torah, that doesn't mean that we erase that story of the golden calf. It's still there. We're still reminded of it. We can't undo that. That happened. But what we see in the very next week is that we're a people who can recognize when we do wrong and make up for it and make the most of the second chance that we're given. And so for perhaps that reason, and that reason alone, we see that there have been more powerful empires who have persecuted us, and they've disappeared. Because maybe that's because they weren't practicing redemption or teshuvah. They weren't growing in that way. But we said we are the people who can learn from what we've done wrong, and tomorrow become the people that we know we're capable of being. So in all of our lives, let's try not, when we get called out for bad behavior, even though that never feels good, to get angry and to double down and to build an even bigger golden calf. But let's take a step back, think about what we've done, and work on being the people that we know that we can be. After all, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, Moses says to God, "Who are you? How do I describe you?" And God says, "Tell the people that I am Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh," which means I will be that which I will be. And as we read in Genesis chapter 1, that all of us were created in God's image and likeness, we can read from that too, that we are the people that will be the ones that we will be, and we can grow and we can change and we can become something new and better each day. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Cantor, thank you for leading alongside me this evening, as always. And I want to thank, as always, the Salt Lake City Police Department for being here to keep us safe. I also see Danielle Music, our office assistant here. Great to have you here, Danielle. I got a lovely email today from somebody saying, "Danielle, I think she's just the most wonderful person. She is so wonderful." I agree. Thrilled to have you as part of our community and our team here. And I see Dove DeLay from our Board of Trustees. Dove, we appreciate your leadership. Do you want to come up and read some announcements? All right, Dove. I never know if Dove's going to throw it back at me or if I'm going to be, or if Dove's going to take it. Thanks, Dove, for giving me a little 15-second break there. Yeah, exactly.
Where is it? Here?
Yeah, right there. Perfect.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And these are from Idaho? Idaho Mormons? Is that what we say? Welcome. Interestingly enough, I have never been in a temple, Mormon temple before, until last Friday in St. George. I was able to tour the new Red Cliffs Temple the day before they closed it forever to non-members. And I was stunned.
Did you enjoy it?
Holy moly cow.
Well, how would you like, Dove, on April 10th, I haven't sent it out yet, but for a select group of folks from our community are going to get a private tour of the brand new Taylorsville Temple.
Well, maybe.
And I would love for you
Yeah.
to join me on that.
It was so elegant and beautiful, and there were Mormons every 10 feet helping people go this way and that way. And you walked up, and they put on little white booties for you because the carpets were so stinking gorgeous, I must say.
Sound like realtors almost, right?
Yeah.
That was a realtor.
Yes, and what was kind of amazing, and I'm so glad they did this, and I wrote about this for the City Weekly next week, was that they took into consideration their environment in designing this. So the concrete that the thing is made out of is reflective of the sandstone, so it's kind of pinkish reddish. And there are these 30-foot stained glass windows everywhere, and they look like plants, and at the top is a flower, and the flower is either an Indian paintbrush or a wild bear poppy, which is only grown in St. George. And on the
That's gorgeous.
outside are these reliefs of cottonwood leaves. And I love that. Good job, Mormons.
I bet that was made by my friend Tom Holdman, who does most of the stained glass for the temples, who is going to be doing a stained glass for
That's
us in our
awesome.
mikveh. Very
He
excited.
he did design the stained glass down there,
We're
but
going to get one of those too.
yeah, it was just really, really nice. And it also is, oddly enough, when you're approaching it, it almost felt like I was going to Egypt because of all of the palm trees lining it, and then you see this edifice and the fountains, and I was like, huh, this is amazing. And I was, good job, that's what I wanted to say. Anyway, to get to the business at hand here, welcome, and thank you, Rabbi and Cantor, for leading us this morning, and thank you to our Shamash Danny Berman, Usher John, is John here?
That might be tomorrow's announcements.
Oh, Saturday, good job. Here we go, let's go with Friday.
I think I gave you the wrong one.
It's all
But
right.
thank you in advance to John and Danny for tomorrow morning.
Yes, because if we're good Jews, we come tonight and we come tomorrow, you know. You guys do this a lot too, don't you? Yeah. Saturday night is the Rafi Schwartz Religious Schools Trivia Night fundraiser. While registration is now closed, donations are welcome to benefit families in need of tuition assistance. This Sunday, join Kolami member and author Faye Lincoln, yay Faye, for the first of her lecture series at Kolami on future values, geopolitical shifts, and changing technology from global chaos to personal clarity. Wow, that's a mouthful. A light breakfast will be served at 9:30 in the morning before the lecture at 10. Please RSVP. Join our Rosh Kodesh group for a women's health event, March 12th, featuring a pelvic floor physical therapist. Our guest speaker will educate us on pelvic floor health and answer any questions you may have. Our next year's Shabbat and Shabbat dinner is on March 15th. Oh, that's right, I'm cooking it.
Hooray! That was a great cut.
All of you Zoom Jews out there, you better show up. We're going to be having Israeli chicken and a nice cobbler. It'll be very good. Please come. Let's see. Purim is just 2 weeks away. Are you excited?
Absolutely.
Nice. Fulfill the mitzvot of say that word.
Mishloach
Mishloach
I can never
manot.
do that. Mishloach manok, sending gifts, and matanot, oh boy.
Le'evyonim.
Yeah, that. Giving to the poor as we raise funds to send Purim goodies to each member household and help support the Frieda Schweitzer Mobile Food Pantry. Yes. We are also holding a pre-sale for Hamantaschen. Those are have you seen a Hamantaschen before?
Those are our
Cookies. They're shaped like little triangles. They're so yummy. Let's see. If you want to place your orders, do it on our website by March 14th, which is next Thursday, I believe. Our Erev Purim service, Purim on the Roof spiel, that the Cantors all doing here, and celebration begins at 8 p.m. Saturday, March 23rd. Following the Megillah reading, join us as the joy of Purim continues with refreshments, snacks, and dancing. Our Purim morning service and Megillah reading will be on Sunday the 24th at 7:30 in the morning, and our religious school Purim carnival will be on Sunday the 24th from 9:30 to noon. All are welcome. Make sure to RSVP. Our next family Shabbat dinner and service will be March 22nd. Our service will be co-led by the kindergarten and first graders of the Rafi Schwartz Religious School. Make sure to RSVP in advance for dinner. As we mark our 50th anniversary, we're creating a special membership directory, and we're inviting members and businesses to be part of that by submitting your greeting or ad by April 15th. And thank you, of course, to our volunteers, donors, members, and guests, all of you for your participation and support tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you, Dove. Appreciate your leadership. And we are going to turn to the concluding part of our service, page 586, Theoleno on the bottom of the page. I'll invite you to rise in body or spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנו חלקנו כהם, בגלל עלינו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
May be seated. This time we think of those whom death has recently taken from us and those who have died in this season, years past, and those who we draw into our hearts with our own as we remember them. If you hear the name of a loved one, you're invited to rise upon hearing their name. In the period of Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning, we remember Barbara Rosenfield, mother of Micah Rosenfield, Benjamin Frank, a Colmy member and partner of Marie Gallo, and also the following local Jewish people who've been laid to rest in our cemetery, Rochelle Bone and Maya Lekina. And also we think of those who have lost their lives in defense of the state of Israel or as a result of terror in the last 30 days. And this week we commemorate the following Yortzite's anniversary passing of these loved ones: Phoebe Beaton, Dale M. Carlisle, Max Daniels, Molly Doctorman, Mark Dykes, Gabriel Darcy Gibson, Freda Gorodeski, Abe Greenband, Samuel Hinteleff, Michael Haupt, Sidney Kolodny, Michael Kotler, Marjorie Lemaire, Sidney Lepler, Stanley Levy, Barbara B. Levy, Suzanne Lindau, Ruth Betty Linden, David Napuk, Sophia Pevsner, John Pritz, Beverly Rosenberg, Daniel Edwin Buddy Sable, Beatrice Schmuckler, Anita Ruth Tishkoff Solomon. And if you have a name to add, I'll invite you to rise and share with our community. And if you are watching on Zoom, you are welcome, or on the live stream I should say, I invite you to share a name as well. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you're in mourning, or is your tradition to do so, you're invited to rise. We're on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah, be'alma divrach hirte v'yimlech malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye delchol be'it Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei rabah mivrach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shemei v'kudisha b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nehemata da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom b'imromav, Uyaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Be'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the source of peace and peace to all who are mourning, comfort the bereaved among us. Again we say, Amen. We will conclude, as again we have been since October 7th, with the singing of Hatikva, Israel's national anthem, so we can stand with Israel at a time when a lot of the world is not. And you are invited, if you wish to do so, to rise in body or spirit for Hatikva.
Kol balev ha'penima, nefesh Yehudi honiyah, ulefatei Yisra kadima, ayin letzion Sophia. For the Lord Atikvatenu, Atikvadat Shnot Adayim, Liyotam Chofshi Be'atzenu, Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Liyotam Chofshi Be'atzenu, Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim.
We'll remain standing for Kiddush, page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam borei beriat ha'afel.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho b'yahava uv'ratzon imchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila lemikrai kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu b'chalta Yotanu kidashta b'kohanim V'shabbat kodeshecha be'ava uv'ratzon Inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
And we have here, made by our friend Moshe, best challah in Utah. You all will have to break off a little piece for yourselves. Let's join together in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Elohim melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
B'te'avon, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom,
Brothers and
hey,
sisters,
Shabbat
pass it
Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome everyone. You may greet each other. This concludes our service.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I'll finish up with you all really fast before we Shabbat dinner. Choose one thing out of these. All right. Just to show you what we have up here. So, we face Jerusalem when we pray. That's the Jews who are facing east. Jews from South Africa face north, Jews from Moscow face south, Jews from also our ark. You'll see different kinds of arks.
Will you open it, Rabbi?
Oh, I'll get in a second. Don't worry.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Shabbat shalom, Kendra.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi, and Shabbat shalom to all of you. Thank you for being here.
So they can see each other. Thanks, Kendra. See
Thank
you
you,
tomorrow
Rabbi.
morning. Kendra is the person who does the music. As you notice, she has a beautiful voice. We have similar jobs, but her job requires talent. So she's
You have lots of talent here.
very generous. So as a rabbi, I'm a spiritual leader who sets the vision for the community. This is the teachings and stuff. So Kendra, as you saw, leads us in worship, and tomorrow we do a lot of our Torah chanting. This is our ark. For us, we've designed our ark to have a tree on it. We know that the Torah is a tree of life. In the more we study, the deeper our roots go, the more our branches break out. We also happen to have the Ten Commandments on our ark. Above the ark, we have the light that's always on. Come here at 2 o'clock in the morning, that light will be on. That is the eternal flame. And that signifies as it's always on, God's eternal presence. And inside we have the Torah scrolls. I can take one out and briefly show it to you. But did you have any other questions before I do that? No? Yeah.
I have a question. This is something afterwards, but I think the last time here there was a question about whether we can take a photo.
Oh,
So no photos of the Torah.
so on the Sabbath, now the Sabbath has begun. Wish you asked me before the service began.
Well, that's what I told everybody. Okay.
So we come down here like an hour and a half. Thank you for asking. Come back on a non-Sabbath or turn back time and get it right before sundown. Then we can. Thank you for asking. Otherwise, pictures aren't a problem except for like 25 hours a week, and now we're in that 25 hours. I will invite you here. If you want to come up, I'm happy to show you a Torah scroll. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh man, was my sermon that boring? I'm sorry. So you'll see the Torah, we decorate it with crowns. By the way, this is, most of us in America, Jews, are of Eastern European descent. About 90% of us are. That's called Ashkenazi Judaism. If you go to Israel, most Jews are actually not from Eastern Europe. A lot of people think that all Jews are white and look like me, but in Israel, 2% of the Jewish population is actually Ethiopian and black, but about 55% of the population, it's what's called Sephardic, which means Spanish, but that term was used to apply to Jews of the Mediterranean and throughout the Muslim world. And most Israeli Jews their heritage comes from places like Morocco, Yemen, different places like that. And so a Sephardic Torah scroll will have a hard cover on it, not a soft cover. So we have here these crowns and a breastplate. I want to be very careful because if I drop this, my community has to fast for 40 days. And generally they get angry at you if you make them not eat for a month. And a breastplate. And the Torah itself, one of these here costs brand new about $50,000, $60,000. And it is written on not paper but animal skin. And when we finish reading the Torah, by the way, we unroll it and it goes all the way around the room. And we actually just had somebody out here for the first time in over 10 years to repair our Torah scrolls. They were in badly need of repair, and that 1 week cost about $30,000 for them to come and repair all of that. And I invited leaders from your church to come and see that, and I want to share that they made a which I was not anticipating or at all, a very generous donation to help us for next time we need to do that, not have to wait 10 years. So that, and that was so moving and touching. Your church has helped us a lot, and that's something a lot of people think, oh, they all want, that's a question I get. They're like, oh, does everybody just want to convert you? Do they hate you for being, I'm like, actually, anytime that I've been in trouble, I've called my friends in the church, and they've like assembled a crew and a team and come and helped us, or been like, oh, well, the synagogue's roof is leaking and they don't have the money. We're going, we're going to help them with that. And because we don't have like a mother church like y'all have that where everybody tithes to or whatever. I tell people, in addition to being a rabbi, I'm the CEO of a small nonprofit where I have to raise $1.5 million a year to pay our staff, keep our lights on, do all that, fix up the building, pay for the police officers. We don't get help from that. We have to raise all that own money. So your church has been incredibly helpful to us. So when we read the Torah, we use what's called a yad, which means a hand, because we don't want to actually use our own hands so that we don't smear this or ruin it or get Cheeto dust on it or whatever. This is all handwritten with a quill, a feather, and stuff. And like I said, when we finish reading it, we unroll the whole Torah around the room. Like it goes the entire way around the room. And so what you'll notice here, by the way, is like here's a book version of the Torah. Now, you can vouch for me. Do you see under the Hebrew and above the Hebrew all these dots and lines and stuff? Now, tell me, do you see any of that in here? So what those are vowels and musical notes. None of that is actually in the Torah. But everybody has the book version. But the person who's chanting has to have that memorized. And our community will not so politely tell you if you mess it up. So, so it will sound something like this. Vayachel Moshe et kol edad b'nei Yisrael vayomer Elohim ele hadevarim asher tziva Adonai asota atam shishit sheshet ya. They would have yelled at me because I said shishit instead of sheshet. Sheshet yamim taaseh malaha uvayom hashvi yehi elachem kodesh, or something like that. And then once we finish reading the Torah, somebody comes up here and they lift the Torah up in the air like this. Everybody stands, and it's as though we are reenacting receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai, because what Jewish tradition teaches, who was around when Joseph Smith, by the way, received the Book of Mormon? What other of his followers were there with him? Anybody? Nobody was there. They had to believe Joseph Smith and have faith that he was telling them the truth. However, when we receive the revelation of the Torah, similarly in Islam, Muhammad received the revelation of the Quran in a cave by himself. But what we read in Jewish tradition is that when we receive the Torah, every Jewish soul, past, present, and future, was there all at once. So sometimes when we meet a fellow Jewish person, we're like, oh, I know you from somewhere. Where'd you go to synagogue? No, that wasn't it. Where'd you go to summer camp? No, that wasn't. And you can't figure out where you know each other. Like, it must have been at Sinai. We learned that we all received it together, so we reenact receiving that. Do you have any other questions for me? Yeah.
What are the little hat cap things?
These? Oh, I wear that for fashion. How am I doing? So that's called a yarmulke or a kippah. Yarmulke is Yiddish, kippah is Hebrew, and more people from my dad's generation more use the Yiddish, and people from my generation use the Hebrew. Traditionally, just men wear those. But you might have noticed that some women were wearing them tonight, and you'll see that in more progressive communities. You won't see that in Orthodox communities. Now, originally, that is something the priests, before we had rabbis, we had priests, and that's something they would wear when they were performing their priestly duties. Now, after the destruction of the temple, we got rid of the priesthood, and it became all of our duties to fulfill religious worship. And so some people never wear a kippah, some wear them when they're in the synagogue or when they're praying, and some people, particularly very traditional people, wear it all the time. Let me ask you all, any of you ever travel internationally? I love traveling internationally, by the way. I've been to 64 countries now. And the most recent country I was in was El Salvador. I was there in December. And when I was in El Salvador, I was driving through this very tiny village, and I see these two young guys who, with short sleeve white shirts, a tie, and a little black name badge. Who do you think those two, and they were walking together, two guys. Who do you think these were? Missionaries. And so, had they been dressed just like, normal, I wouldn't have known. But I saw them, and I immediately was like, oh, hey, missionaries, I'm from Utah. And they're like, oh, have you heard of the Book of Mormon? I'm like, yes, I'm from Utah. But it was something that identified them right away. And if you, as Latter-day Saints, were in that situation, you would probably be like, especially if you're in a place where most people are not Latter-day Saints, you would probably get really excited and be like, I know those people. Those people are from my community. So similarly for us as Jews, it's a way for us to get to see who else is Jewish, but also, as we're talking about, there's probably in El Salvador folks who've never met Latter-day Saints before and think you all are a bunch of weirdos who have 5,000 wives or whatever, and all these things that aren't true. And part of, I think, the idea of walking around and identifying yourself as a missionary is, like you said, even if somebody doesn't convert to your faith, they might walk away being like, oh, Latter-day Saints are nice people. That was a nice person I talked to. They offered to help me carry my groceries or something. And for us as well, particularly in a time of anti-Semitism, I like wearing my kippah because it reminds me that if I'm going to go around and act like a jerk, I'm representing all of my community when I wear this. And it reminds me to be nice and good. I had an experience here where these young women who were refugees from Syria